Hi, Anna.
Hi, Crystal. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. You getting ready for Thanksgiving?
Oh man, we've got all the things going on. Like Thanksgiving is right around the corner, so by the time this comes out, it'll probably be very close to Thanksgiving Day 2023. I have my in-laws are in town. We are starting to like prep our ingredients for cooking because we're definitely breaking it up into chunks and we're doing it in small pieces because I'm still working. Like I'm working today, but up until Thursday. Like I'm off on Thursday and Friday, but I have people scheduled up until then. So like just broke everything out into small pieces so we can get it done and still enjoy it. Like I love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday because it revolves around food and it is a lot of work, but I so much enjoy the cooking aspect of it. So I just broke things down into smaller chunks so that I could still enjoy, not feel too stressed. And then on Thursday, by the time people come over, I just don't want to be exhausted. So yeah, having a good time doing that. How about you? How are things
Yeah,
going for you?
they're going
Thanksgiving
pretty
coming
good.
up? Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're gonna host, and so we're kind of doing it like you, trying to start just preparing and organizing our everything. So, but we're excited, and I do love Thanksgiving too. It's really fun.
How
So,
many people do you have coming over?
only about 13 this year, so not too many.
Only about 13. Yeah, I have to take a look at our list, but originally it was 24 and I was still waiting on three people to tell me yes or no. But two people have dropped off of that list so far, so we'll see, but we got a giant turkey on the way. We got a big ham and all of the delicious sides, so it's going to be really nice. All 23, 24, 25 people in here.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. How are things like speaking of the holidays and um all of that, how are things going for you in terms of like managing your work and everything as a solopreneur? How are you balancing or managing all of that during this week where things tend to get hectic?
Yeah, good question. I think it's just more about intention. If we're really mindful of how we're navigating our day and the energy that we bring behind what we're doing, it really has an impact. So the boys are off from school this week. And today, like right now, we have our meeting, and then I've had other meetings, and they've been really good about. I bought them a new game. And so it's like dragons. I think you would love it actually. It's like Dragonwood. I'll send it to you. But it's pretty fun. They love it and it's been keeping them busy. So that's important because when they're home, if I feel like I have to be like 1 foot on a phone call with the client and 1 foot like what are they doing? It's so distracting and it feels overwhelming because it feels like I can't be 100% present with this person and I can't be 100% present with them. So to be able to have that support, and they're big enough now, they're old enough now where, I mean, they can, I can still hear them and see them, but they're not, I don't have to be right on top of them anymore. So that's nice, but it's important to be mindful of how do we set ourselves up for success? Like if we have to take people to the airport or pick them up or, prepare like for the dinner, like you're saying, how do we set ourselves up for success? And I think a lot of it is just being aware of what's on our calendar and being intentional with how we navigate it and with what time we allot for it. How about for you?
Well, all of that for me. There's also like the managing expectations for ourselves. So I don't know about you, but I tend to my brother told me this one time like years and years and years ago and it stuck with me that I put a lot of expectations on myself. And then I work really hard to meet those expectations. And some of those expectations are realistic, some of them are unrealistic, some of them are just really unnecessary, right? And that came into my mind again as we were preparing for Thanksgiving because like I said, we have all these people coming and our house is, it's a little bungalow, you know, um and it's old. This house was built in 1926, so it's cute, it's charming, It just doesn't have some of the modern conveniences that other houses have, like an open floor plan, or, like a screened in porch in the back that people can spread out into. We have an awesome porch in the front, but we're in Florida, so more like outdoor living space would be more convenient, and I'm working on that, but we just don't have it right now. Anyway, the whole reason why I'm saying that is because I realized that I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. My husband and I both were putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to make sure that the house was perfect, that we had everything perfectly planned out, that everything was like, all of that. And we're like, you know what? That is great. Like, we have to have a game plan and everything like that, but nothing has to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. And we don't have to be like the perfect hosts either. People love our house is the hub for our family because people love coming here. And they love coming here because they love the experience that they have. And the best experience is when we're relaxed and we're just being ourselves. And okay, if something happens that was unexpected, then we deal with it in the moment. Or you know what? Like, come on in. There's a refrigerator. There's the bathroom. Make yourself at home. If you need something, just feel comfortable enough to get up and get it. You know what I mean? Like, no big deal, no stress. And so we were talking about that, and the fact that we said it out loud really did a lot to help with all the preparations, because like my husband is like a planner, right? And I'm not so much of a planner. He likes to have lists, and he likes to have things scheduled out ahead of time and all that. And it's stressful for me sometimes to do that because I'm an in the moment kind of person, but just kind of like to meet in between, we plan some things out ahead of time, which was super helpful because now we know what to do and when to do it. But it also helped to have that conversation of, it doesn't have to be a perfect experience. Like, things don't have to be what we think is perfect. It really doesn't. So just having that conversation has been really helpful.
I love that. Well, and I love that you said that too, because I don't know about you, but if I go to someone's home and it's so like perfect, then I feel like, I don't know if I should sit on this couch, or like, do I need like a coaster? Do I need to take my shoes off, keep them on? Like, it's like you almost don't know how to be comfortable because it's like, what will offend them on accident with, or what would seem like it was ill-mannered without meaning to. So I think sometimes when there's a little bit of a comfort in like, not a mess, but like that it's not perfect, because that's real life, right? Like we get to come in and just be with each other and be there for what it's intended for, which is to kind of eat, drink, and be merry, right? I mean, I know it's more Christmas, but you know what I'm saying? It's the same idea for Thanksgiving. It's like, just come, enjoy yourself, get so full that you can sit on the couch and know that you can relax. You don't have to leave, or, we're not going to be putting the pineapple out right after,
For sure. For sure. And as far as like managing all of that, with this being a holiday week and balancing, right? Like responsibilities for being a host for Thanksgiving to the responsibility of managing your business and staying on top of things and, all of that. One thing that has been really helpful for me this week is like giving myself the permission to slow down this week. Like, I don't have to be 100% on top of everything the way I normally would. I don't have to feel bad about whether or not I meet my goal, like my sales goal for this week or my prospecting goal for this week. This week, everybody, it's a holiday week for everybody that's in the United States. So things are moving slower, everybody's distracted. Like, I don't have to beat myself up for not being 100% on top of my game or not meeting my my goals for the week. It's okay. That's the beauty of owning your own business. That's the beauty of being a solopreneur, because you can kick it up when you need to and when it makes sense to, and then you can slow down when it makes sense to. It's really a beautiful thing.
Yes. I fully agree with you.
I just had to give myself the permission to do it. You
Mhm.
know, like, because we get into this grind. I don't know about you, but I definitely get into that grind. And we've talked about that, how I'm like a worker bee. And I get into this grind where I'm like, I got to do this and I have these goals and all that, which normally serves me well. But I was like, I constantly have to be mindful of that so that I'm not dancing on that burnout line.
Right. Well, and I think too, at this time of year, it's so common that people begin to rush around a lot. And so I love that you're giving yourself permission to slow down, because when I say people are rushing around, I mean emotionally, physically, mentally, but also like when they're driving. I don't know about you because I'm out on the West Coast, but the drivers out here this week have been crazy. Like people doing things that you're like, that is not safe and not smart, but they're in such a hurry. But because we're not, because we're able to take that time to like handle our week with intention and slow down when we need it, we're able to kind of see them in that energetic space of like chaos. And then we get to just remove ourselves from it, right? Whereas, I mean, how many times have you seen one person cut someone else off and the other person be like, what? Like angry. Whereas, like, if we're not in that reactive space because we're in such a hurry, we can kind of witness it, but we don't have to be part of it. You know, we can just remove ourselves from it and keep ourselves safe, you know, because that's what I think a lot of times happens during the holidays is that as much as they are intended to be joyful and like time with family and friends, people feel like they have to have so much pressure to get things done, to do it right, to create or bring the perfect side dish or what have you, that they miss the mark on what it's really about, which is just slowing down, being present, enjoying the time together with the family and friends, and just really being together, you know, not having to rush. But it's natural. A lot of people, they have to still work their 9 to 5 or even, you know, later hours and try to hurry up and get to a place. And so they're rushing and rushing and rushing. And I feel like we always hear about more traffic, you know, issues because of that energy I think that people bring.
Yeah.
And it's I don't even think they realize that they're in that state. I mean, obviously if they did, they'd probably slow back down, you know?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because you're right. Like the holidays are about being together, be enjoying the time, relaxing together, um, and that whole idea of us putting extra pressure on ourselves detracts from what it's all about. It really does. There was something else that I wanted to say about that, but I lost my I lost my train of thought about it. But anyway, let's kind of like take a pivot because I want to update you on something that I've been working on this week. So knowing that this week was going to be slower, and giving myself the permission to be okay with that, right? I reclaimed some of that, I don't know, energy, the time. And on Monday, I spent the day working on making some updates to my website, and I feel so good about that. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. That, and this is like a side note from a previous piece of our conversation. That you know, in our business as coaches, right? It's so important for us to show up authentically and be our authentic self, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the holidays when we're hanging out with people. You know, when I was talking about that pressure that we put on ourselves for everything to be perfect, no, people come here to hang out with us because they like who we are and how we roll and how we do things. And by no means is our authentic self perfect.
That's right.
By no means is our house in perfect shape all the time, right? People know that, they love that, and that's why they love us, and that's why they love spending time with us. So yeah, I wanted to make that point about authenticity, like in our business, but also in our personal life, as far as like putting pressure on ourselves and all that, which comes back to the point that I was going to make. So on Monday, I spent some time making updates to my website, and I thought, you know what, this could use more authenticity. I could share a little bit more about myself, and I have some on my about page. I have some pieces, like some blog posts that share my story in different ways. But I was like, that is my story as far as the professional side of me. I wanted to infuse some authenticity about the personal side of me. So in there, what I did was I inserted a photo collage. And if anybody that's listening is curious to see that, my website is www.griselscarantino.com, and you can go to the about page and see what I'm talking about. But I inserted a photo collage where it just shows like the different facets of the things that I'm into on a personal level. And I can't tell you how much I enjoyed doing that. Like I feel like I just bumped my game up to a next level. And what I mean by that is just it felt so good to put more of myself out there, like just in a human kind of way. Like when I'm not working, these are the things that I'm doing, and this is what I look like while I'm doing those things. I really like that. And doing that, it felt so good. Like it turned my brain on in a different way, that I then did some other things around my coaching program, and I added 3 new web pages to my website just on Monday, because I was like riding that wave of inspiration and creativity and feel goodness that's so important for us to have as business owners, especially as solopreneurs. Like whenever we can do something that puts us into that state of relaxation, that really feeds our motivation, our inspiration, our creativity. That is just like chef's kiss to our business success. Like we need to do the things that put us into that state.
Mhm.
Because when
Yeah.
we're stressed, when we're too focused, when we're too rigid, that creativity doesn't exist in the same way as when we're relaxed, inspired, motivated, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. So anyway, I wanted to share that update with you. That's something that I was working on this week. And it all was born from giving myself the permission to slow down this week.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And it's so true because we talk about taking inspired action, right? We talk about that all the time. But if
All the
we're
time.
so, but if we're coming from a place of desperation because we're working overtime, we're on overdrive, we're go, 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 hustle mentality, hustle culture. Like if we're living like that, the inspired action doesn't feel inspired. It's like desperate action, like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping one sticks, like I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to try and do that. I'll try this. So it's not really inspired action because it's like you're trying to solve problems. Like, how can I gain more clients? How can I get myself out there? How can I? And in that desperate space, all the actions are in vain because nothing's going to be fruitful because the energy isn't authentic or really healthy, right? But when we give ourselves a chance to calm down, slow down, quiet even our surroundings, and just give ourselves grace in that, that is when the inspired action comes. And it's so clear because you feel it, you hear it, and you see it. And I think that's so beautiful because that's exactly what was able to come forward for you on Monday, is that true inspired action. And it felt so good. So I'm really happy for you. And I'm excited to see just the change and momentum that will create for you. So I'm number one, great job on like leaning into that and just like trusting and having fun with it. And number two, like just congratulations, because it feels good to feel good about what we're doing, you know?
Thank you. And I know that our ever-present conversations and thought processes are around marketing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like putting ourselves out there in a way that speaks to our ideal client, that they connect to our message and to the service that we're offering, if they have the problem that we help them solve, right? And to us as authentic human beings, right? The excitement that I feel about making those updates and it coming from an inspired place is absolutely going to show through. And I say going to because I haven't done this yet, but it's going to show through when I share these updates with the world. Like that excitement is inherent in the message that's going to go out, and people really connect to excitement. Like you said, like you the vibe, the read is different when you're putting out a marketing message that is very I don't even know. I can't remember what word you used to describe it, but you said it so well. And the way that you put it is escaping me right now, but there's a difference. Go, tell me. Do you remember how you said it?
In this conversation or from
Yeah, this one. Just now.
desperation?
Yeah.
Desperation.
Yeah. When you're just like boom, 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 boom. This now hire me, right? Like that reads and feels one way as opposed to I'm so excited to share this news with you. These are the things that are going on. I am sharing my helpfulness in a way that I'm enthusiastic about it. That the vibe, I'm saying vibe because it's like, for lack of a better word, but the vibes are so different in those two. And which one is going to be more productive as a marketing message? The excited, enthusiastic, confident one, right? Because the confidence shows through in those messages as opposed to the robotic, mechanical, these are the facts and the logic about why I'm helpful to you.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
land differently.
Yeah. Enthusiasm is so powerful, right? So we talk about, I think people talk about excitement, like get excited, like make it, energetic and all these things. But what I've really seen a lot in a lot of articles I've read, books I've read, even people I follow, enthusiasm is like the catalyst for like the impact, right? And you're so right that if we're just like, you know, in that bump, 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 desperation, like here's this, here's that. People are just gonna feel that. I mean, I don't know about you, but even when I scroll sometimes on LinkedIn, because I know that that's where you and I both do our marketing. Number one, there are just people that will come through my feed that I'm like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it like clicks, and so I don't even read. It could be even a beautiful image, but it's like almost like the energy behind how they were feeling when they wrote it or when they posted it. It's like you feel that. I think it probably sounds kind of funny, but I think almost everybody who's listening can say, whether they've been on Facebook or Instagram or what have you, there are times when something will just catch them and they'll read it, and times when they're like, no, and to that point, I think it's great too, because I know you've been really consistent with marketing on LinkedIn. And I think it's been joy filled. Like every time you do that, you feel good about the creation process. And in contrast, I think for the last, what is it now, 2 months, maybe, I haven't posted anything on LinkedIn, but I don't feel bad about it. I feel okay. I have unwavering faith that what's been put on there so far will still have an impact for anyone who's, wanting to check me out, because who I am, back to your point of authenticity, is who I am. Who I was when I posted 3 months ago on there is still who I am today. I just have been busy with other ventures, and it hasn't felt authentic to try and post on LinkedIn. So I've not been doing it, but I don't feel fearful and I don't feel desperate to do it. Right. I mean, I think I told you last week that I need to get on there just so people see that like I was able to do that teachers burnout workshop and all those things, just so they can see that I'm still doing stuff, that I'm okay. Cause I know people sometimes are like, are you okay? I haven't seen you on there for a little while. But I just haven't had the time. And
Yeah.
so, I think authenticity is so important. And I think when we're coming from a place of enthusiasm, you feel it. Other people feel it and they see it. Isn't that funny?
It is. And you brought this up, inspired action, the idea of inspired action that you and I have talked about so much. And I kind of want to bring a piece of that into this conversation right now about inspired action. And because it's woven into this concept that we're talking about when like marketing, right? Like when you're creating your messages, it definitely reads that feeling comes through of enthusiasm, excitement, that is really hard to fake. It's when you're not feeling that way, it's hard to infuse your messages with that excitement, enthusiasm, and even the confidence. that you can when you really are inspired. And so that's where the concept of inspired action comes in, that it, yes, there is like this consistent, we've been taught with marketing coaches and business coaches and all that, that there is like a consistency that's required for us to take consistent action. But we are in the business as coaches, we're in the business of helping people make powerful transformations in their life, right?
Yeah.
And marketing a service that is transformative, I think, is different than marketing a product, for example, that is something perhaps a nice to have, or something that people need. There's like a difference there in the tone and the vibe when you're marketing something that's transformative, as opposed to something that is more transactional, right?
Yeah.
So you and I have talked a lot about inspired action and how important it is to, like, yes, there is that consistency in action that is required, but if it's not inspired, is that really helping us? Or does that become a task that is draining, because it's like, okay, I need to write a post now. Or maybe I need to write a post for the next 30 days and schedule them. But I'm like, whatever, I'm only doing this because I know that I have to do it, but I don't necessarily feel inspired to do it. I'm not excited or enthusiastic about it. So I'm just going to like use Chat GPT maybe, or I'm going to like read something and just like post about that, because a post is better than no post, right? But is that really true? Is
I
that
don't
really?
think so. I
No.
don't think so, because the thing is that I haven't posted anything for 3 months, right? Easily. And I've had clients come forward and find, I don't know how they found me, but I mean, they've gotten on my, because on my LinkedIn, there's that Calendly link that they can just go schedule themselves, and they have. And then that business came forward for me and asked me to go help them with burnout in their company. And I don't, not one to my knowledge really came from any of my marketing on LinkedIn or me. I don't know where they've all come from, but what I'm saying is the idea of having to post consistently, it's not true. And I love that question. I always encourage my clients when I'm working with them, if they're having like limiting beliefs or just like things that are challenging and hurting them, just that they feel bad about. One of the most powerful things I always ask them to ask themselves in the moment is the simple question, is this true? It's so powerful, because sometimes the deepest, darkest thoughts that we face seem really scary and big, and they feel awful. But if we take a moment and we're like, is this true? 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, it's not true. And then it gives us new perspective. And so I love that you just asked that question. Is it true that we have to post regularly to see a result? No. And I love that question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So well, like you, I have also slowed down in my posting on LinkedIn, but I'm still somewhat consistent, not consistent enough where I say I post 5 times a week or 3 times a week. Like, I couldn't tell you right now how many times a week that I post. Sometimes 1 times a week, sometimes 0 times per week, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week, right? Like, but I'm really being intentional about only writing posts when I feel inspired to do it. And they're landing. Not only are they landing, but they're getting tons of engagement. With that engagement comes like the increased number of reach, right? So it's reaching more people. Yeah. And back to the whole website thing that I was telling you about, if I had written that down as a task, like I need to update my website and this way, that way, and the other way, I probably would have followed through on that task. But what's the quality of that work, that time and effort and brain power that I spent if I was just doing it because I felt like I had to, as opposed to because I was inspired to do it?
Yeah.
It was so easy to do. It just flowed right out of me.
I love it.
And I think it looks great. I mean, I haven't looked at it again since I did it, I probably go back, now that I've stepped away from it, I probably need to go back to it and look at it with fresh eyes and read it over again and look at it visually. But anyway, it just flowed right out. It was easy to do. I think it looks great. I was so happy with it, and I'm excited to share it, which
Yes.
wouldn't be the case if it was like a thing on my checklist that I had to do. So anyway, inspired action, that was just a beautiful example I felt that I wanted to share just to kind of exemplify, because inspired action is something that we've probably brought up in some previous episodes, and we will definitely bring up in future episodes, because marketing is always, a topic of conversation for anybody running their own business. So anyway,
Right.
thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing that we haven't done in a long time that we might want to think about bringing back, speaking of all this inspired action versus tasks on our to-do list. So you and I started off as accountability buddies. We've shared that before, where we were just kind of helping each other to stay on track with things. And we have been doing that for a little, almost a year, just short of a year, right? But we kind of like dropped off on doing that, and I'm wondering, do we want to bring that back in some way, shape, or form, but keeping that spirit of inspired action, just to continue with accountability? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think I love it. And I think if we do it here, then people can kind of get an idea of what it can look like. Because somebody might think, well, the only way to be accountable for the business is to have a certain number of outreach for the week, or so many prospect calls, or what have you. But it's so much more than that. I mean, it can be, I mean, we've had some really fun accountability pieces that we've held onto and that we've really worked with, and it felt good, but it still mattered because it still had an overall impact on the business. So I think it would be a great idea, because then people can get, you know, different ideas of what it might look like to be inspired or to have accountability, and not have it, the whole point of what we do is we don't really want it to feel like work. This is our passion. And if we feel like we have to put ourselves in a box, and I think maybe we didn't talk about this, but so many coaches talk about the numbers. Oh, I think we talked about this before we started recording, like our first show ever. But one of the things that we talked about, and I think this is what inspired us to do this, to make this channel for people, is that so many business coaches tell people, if you have 100 people that you reach out to, then in theory, one of those people are going to come jump on a call with you. And it's like, okay, so if that's how a person's mind works, where they're very analytical and they feel like that's comfortable because it gives them a clear specification of what they need to do to get a result, but then they do those 100 outreaches and don't have any connection, which we both know happens, right? Because at the end of the day, the numbers are good and they are important, I guess, to be aware of so that we don't maybe get discouraged, but at the same time, they're not factual. And I mean, we've talked that sometimes we've sent out a handful of messages and had responses, and then sent out hundreds and had no responses. It's just kind of relative to where the people are in the moment when they see the message. It doesn't matter that there was 100 versus 5. And so, I think the accountability piece would be really good, because it doesn't have to feel that way. Feeling like you have to send out a certain amount of requests or connections or what have you, that can feel daunting and also discouraging, right? But
Speaking
if
from experience, yes, you're absolutely right. That was,
yeah,
I was definitely on that train. Like, I got to send out, I don't even remember what it was. It was more than 100 every week on
I think it was
LinkedIn.
800.
And I just like burned myself out into a hole in the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it changes the energy. It goes from, who would I really like to be able to serve right now? Like, who is the best fit for who I am? To, okay, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, and just go, 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 but not feel like, does this can I really help that person? You know, because that's the other part of when we connect. I think it's important to really look at the profile and be like, do we connect just as it looks right now? Or is that not my ideal client? And we talked about the importance of that as well. And so, anyhow, I think it'd be a great idea, all that to say, if we started showing kind of how accountability can look in ways that are fun and still impactful.
Mhm. Agreed. Agreed. So as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about, okay, well, like I remember what the kinds of things that we used to talk about when we get to the accountability piece. Like this week, I'm going to send out 100 connection requests and I'm going to send out this many follow-up messages and I'm going to post this many times a week, right? That's what our accountability conversations used to look like. But that led us to a place that's far away from where we want to be, like emotionally and creatively and inspirationally, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like thinking, okay, well, what could that transform into now? Because we have spent a lot of time talking about inspired action.
Mhm.
Okay, so now that I'm talking about this out loud, go ahead. If you have some idea, go ahead because I'm formulating one in my mind right now.
Okay. Okay. I have one and I'm just going to do it for fun. I mean, I'm going to really stay committed to this, but I want it to be fun so that we can show the audience kind of an example of how something silly can still be impactful.
Okay,
So
let's do it. I
for the
love
rest
it.
of the week, every single day, I'm going to say out loud when at least once a day, maybe more than once a day, but I'm going to just say, I'm so excited I got a new client today. And I'm going to do that every single day and just feel that joy and have that fun and not think or worry about where will the client come from? How will the client approach me? Will I have the right terminology to talk with them if they, no, I'm not going to go there mentally. I'm just going to stay in that moment of, I'm so excited. I just got a new client today, like to literally nobody because it's fun and it's silly and it matters because it raises the energy and it's also speaking affirmations into our life, right? So that's my commitment to you.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. So for me, I love like okay, for me it's really important for me to do things that I know relax me, that are absolutely enjoyable to me. Like if I'm doing those things, then I can be more in a creative mindset. Being in a creative mindset is inspiring to me. So for me, it's going to be, and I do have that worker bee tendency. So I will, if I'm not mindful, I will skip those things that are truly enjoyable for me because I'm like, well, I got to do this and I got to do that. And, now looking back on that pattern, it doesn't work for me. Right. Like it's what we've been talking about in this whole conversation. So for me, it's going to be right now, I am super duper into my garden. I've probably told you that 100 times. I've probably said that to the listeners 1,000 times. I'm super into my garden. I love it. And the weather here in Florida is so nice right now. So for me, every morning, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna putz around out there. I'm gonna find something to do. If there's something to do, if there isn't, I'm just gonna sit out there and think and just like that gives me the clarity that I need in my mind to like it clears my mind so that creativity comes in. So that's my commitment is that I'm going to go outside and I'm just going to give myself that time and space every morning. Every morning.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm
So when we
excited.
talk next week, we'll revisit that conversation, see how that is going for us, and then we'll talk about whatever topic we feel like talking about next time. And that'll be after Thanksgiving. So I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. I hope that you and your family just have a wonderful holiday and being present there with each other, enjoying each other's company. I hope that for you.
Thank you. I hope you have the most wonderful time with the 24 guests, family, and friends that are going to be at your house. I cannot wait to hear all about it. And I just I'm so grateful for you. I know we talked about that before, but I mean, I truly am grateful for you. And I just hope you have the most delicious, wonderful feast and the best time on Thursday and for the rest of the week as well.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right. Bye,
Okay.
Anna.
Bye.